When you pray, what is it that you are doing? Is it just a collection of words you were taught? Or is it a cry from the deepest core of your being? Prayer is not about convincing some higher power to do what you want. Prayer is about tuning yourself like you tune a musical instrument so that the universe responds not because it must, but because you have become a part of its rhythm. If your prayer is coming from fear, from doubt, from desperation, it is not a prayer, it is a struggle. Trust in your prayer means you dissolve your desperation. You offer yourself with absolute clarity and surrender. You do not beg. You do not bargain, you simply become. When you trust your prayer, you trust existence itself. You understand that the force that created this universe knows more about you than you know about yourself. But trust does not mean passivity. Trust means you act, you strive, but without anxiety about the result. Prayer is not a substitute for action, it is the foundation from where conscious action rises up. When you sit down to pray, understand that you are not performing a ritual, you are not reciting words for someone's attention. You are tuning yourself. Like a musician tightens or loosens the strings of an instrument to get the perfect note, prayer is your effort to tune your own body, mind, and energies to the natural rhythm of existence. Right now, if your mind is chaotic, your emotions are turbulent, and your body is restless, your prayer will simply be a reflection of that confusion. It's like trying to play music on an untuned instrument. No matter how skilled you are, only noise comes out. When you pray with trust, you are not throwing random sounds into the air hoping something will happen. You are aligning your inner being so deeply that the boundaries between you and the cosmos become thin. In that alignment, prayer is not about changing the world around you, it is about changing the shape of who you are, so that existence can flow through you effortlessly. If you are truly tuned, you don't even have to say a word. Your very presence becomes prayerful. The way you breathe, the way you sit, the way you walk, everything becomes an offering. In that state, prayer is not an action you perform. It is a quality you embody. If you pray out of fear, if you pray because you are desperate and anxious, it is not truly a prayer, it is an emotional outburst. When fear grips you, your mind loses clarity, and your heart is restless. In that state, what you could call prayer is just a projection of your confusion, a release of your inner chaos into the air. Real prayer cannot rise from desperation. Desperation bends you inward in a painful way. True prayer opens you outward in a joyful way. It is not that you should not pray when you are troubled. It is that your trouble should not own your prayer. When trust is missing, you are not praying, you are pleading. You are trying to convince life to make an exception for you, to change the natural course of things out of pity. But existence does not function on pity, it functions on precision and profound intelligence. Trust transforms this completely. When there is trust, your prayer becomes a conscious offering, not a bargain. You are no longer asking out of fear, but offering yourself because you recognize the vastness around you. Fear ties you to your small self. Trust dissolves those walls and lets you touch something larger. In trust, your prayer is calm, centered, graceful. It is not born from panic. It is born from knowing that whatever comes, you are a part of this life, not apart from it. When you trust your prayer, you are not just trusting a particular outcome. You are trusting the very intelligence that runs this entire existence. You are trusting the life that beats your heart, that spins this planet, that lights the sun without your intervention. The same force that orchestrates the entire cosmos is very much alive within you. If you think you know better than existence, if you think you need to beg, bargain, or instruct it, then you have not yet realized the magnitude of the intelligence at work. When you trust your prayer, you trust that this intelligence knows your innermost longing even before you can put it into words. You understand that what is needed for your growth, for your unfolding, will come not always what you want, but certainly what you truly need. Without trust, you are constantly questioning, will this happen? Will I be heard? Will I get what I asked for? With trust, those questions disappear. Your prayer becomes a joyful participation, not a fearful request. You are not praying to an outside authority. You are entering into communion with the very fabric of life itself. Trust is the bridge between your limited understanding and the boundless intelligence that is always nurturing you, whether you realize it or not. Prayer and action are not two separate things. If you truly trust your prayer, it naturally moves you into action. It is not enough to sit in a corner, close your eyes and pray for the world to change, for your life to change, and then do nothing about it. Prayer creates the inner atmosphere, but action is what brings it into the world. When you trust, you act without the burden of fear, without the tension of what might happen. You act with a deep sense of ease because you know that your part is to offer your best, not to control the result. Without trust, even your actions are drenched in anxiety. You act, but you are constantly looking over your shoulder, worrying about whether it will work or not. With trust, you pour yourself fully into what you are doing, and you let life take care of the rest. Action becomes a joyful process, not a desperate rush. You don't act because you are terrified of failure. You act because it is your nature to blossom, to participate, to create. Just as a flower opens to the sun without any guarantee of rain, you act with openness without clinging to outcomes. Prayer strengthens you from within. Trust turns that inner strength into graceful, effortless action. Prayer without action is like a seed kept in a box. It has the potential for life, but no expression. When you trust your prayer, you plant the seed in the soil of life and allow it to grow. Most people think prayer is a negotiation. They sit down and start listing their desires, asking for this, pleading for that, offering promises in return. But prayer is not a business transaction. It is not a trade where you offer something small, hoping to receive something big. When you pray with conditions, you have already decided how life should happen. You are trying to impose your limited vision on a boundless intelligence. You are saying, I know what is best, without realizing how small your understanding really is. True prayer has no demands, no bargaining, no conditions. You do not sit in prayer trying to bend existence to your will. You sit in prayer to offer yourself to the will of existence. You recognize that there is a vastness beyond what your mind can grasp, and you surrender to it with trust and reverence. When you pray without conditions, you are not trying to make life serve you. You are offering yourself in service to life. In that offering, you are elevated. You are no longer a tiny creature lost in the immensity of the cosmos. You become part of the immensity itself. Such a prayer is powerful because it is pure. It is not corrupted by personal agendas or desires. It is an open door through which grace can flow, not because you forced it open, but because you dissolved the walls that kept it away. For most people, prayer is a tool they pick up only when life becomes difficult. When things are going smoothly, prayer is forgotten. When problems arise, they remember. This kind of prayer is not born out of devotion or connection. It is born out of helplessness. But true prayer is not an emergency button. It is the fragrance of a heart that has recognized its place in the vastness of life. When there is trust, you do not pray only in times of need. Prayer becomes your natural way of being, your way of touching the sacredness of every moment. If you truly understand life, every breath you take is a prayer. Every time you see the sun rise, every time you feel the wind on your face, every time you smile at a stranger, it is a prayer happening without words. You are acknowledging the beauty, the mystery, the grace that holds you. Gratitude is the seed of true prayer. When you live in gratitude, prayer is not something you have to remember to do. It flows out of you effortlessly. You don't pray because you are desperate. You pray because you are overwhelmed by the wonder of existence. Such a prayer does not seek to change life. It celebrates life. It does not ask for more. It bows to the miracle that already is. In this way, your whole life becomes prayerful, not just a few scattered moments when you feel cornered by circumstances. When you pray with trust, you stop measuring your prayer by its immediate results. You do not pray today and look anxiously tomorrow to see if life has delivered what you asked for. Real prayer is not result-oriented. It is process-oriented. The moment you start judging your prayer by what you received or did not receive, you have missed the essence. Prayer is not a request slipped to the universe. It is a way of aligning yourself with the deeper intelligence that moves all things. Whether something specific happens or not is secondary. What matters is that you are in tune. A farmer does not plant a seed today and dig it up tomorrow to see if it is growing. If he does, he destroys it. He knows that his job is to prepare the soil, plant the seed, and care for it. The rest happens in its own time, in its own way. Prayer is the same. You prepare yourself, you open yourself, and you allow the flowering to happen. Trust means you know that life is responding in ways far beyond your immediate understanding. Sometimes what seems like silence is also a profound response. Sometimes what you receive is not what you asked for, but what you truly needed. In trust, you stop demanding that life meet your expectations and you begin to experience the grace of life unfolding as it must. Prayer then is no longer a desperate reaching out. It is a quiet resting in the arms of existence. When you trust in your prayer, patience naturally arises within you. You are no longer frantic, trying to rush the workings of existence to suit your timeline. You begin to realize that life unfolds at its own pace with a wisdom far greater than your anxious mind can comprehend. Impatience comes from a lack of trust. When you believe that things must happen exactly as you wish and exactly when you demand, you are setting yourself up for frustration. You are trying to compress the infinite intelligence of life into your limited sense of urgency. It does not work that way. When you plant a tree, you water it, you care for it, but you cannot force it to grow faster by shouting at it. If you truly trusted the life within the seed, you would wait and nurture it with love, knowing that growth will happen in its own time. In the same way, when you trust your prayer, you nurture your longing with patience, not with anxiety. In deep trust, you know that every moment that passes is not a delay, but a preparation. Life is arranging itself in ways that you cannot always see. Sometimes what you perceive as a delay is actually a grace, a protection, or a deeper alignment being made ready for you. Patience is not a passive waiting. It is an active stillness. It is a vibrant, alert participation in the flow of life without trying to dictate the speed or direction. When you trust, you are willing to stand steady, knowing that what needs to come will come, not a moment too early, not a moment too late. Without patience, prayer becomes a feverish longing, a restless craving. With patience, prayer becomes a silent flowering within you. You are no longer looking at your watch. You are simply present, fully alive to the miracle of each breath, each heartbeat, each unfolding moment. And in that presence, something extraordinary happens. Your very being becomes receptive. You no longer chase after life. Life starts flowing towards you effortlessly, gracefully. You do not have to demand or push. You simply have to stay open, rooted in trust, soaked in patience. When you trust your prayer, you begin to realize that prayer is not about changing the outer world. It is about transforming your inner world. True prayer is an alchemy. It does not move mountains outside. It moves mountains within you. Most people pray with the idea that something out there should change, that situation should become favorable, that other people should behave differently, that life should bend to their desires. But the true purpose of prayer is to soften what is hardened inside you, to awaken what has fallen asleep, to heal what has been wounded. When you sit in prayer with trust, slowly your inner landscape begins to shift. Where there was fear, there is now courage. Where there was anger, there is understanding. Where there was restlessness, there is calm. Prayer refines you. It polishes the mirror of your being until you can see life as it is, without distortion. When your inner world changes, your perception of the outer world changes naturally. The same situations that once caused you pain may no longer disturb you. The same people who once irritated you may now evoke compassion. You realize that it was not the world that needed to change, it was your way of looking, your way of being. Transformation through prayer is not about acquiring new beliefs or ideas. It is about dissolving the layers that prevent you from experiencing life in its fullness. It is about becoming transparent to the intelligence that already flows through you. It is about emptying yourself so that grace can fill you. In this sense, prayer is not a means to an end. It is the end itself. The very act of sitting in trust, of offering yourself without demand, begins to cleanse the mind, settle the emotions, and align the body. You become more rooted, more open, more alive. No outward achievement can match the richness of this inner blossoming. No material possession, no worldly success can replace the peace, the strength, the clarity that arise when your inner being has been touched by true prayer. In trusting your prayer, you are not merely hoping for some external blessing. You are allowing yourself to be blessed from within, where the real source of life resides. That blessing, once it flowers, touches everything around you without you even trying. When you trust your prayer, you begin to realize that the divine is not something distant or separate from you. It is not a distant God up in the heavens that you must seek out with your supplications. The divine is not somewhere outside, it is alive within you, beating in your heart, flowing through your blood, rising with every breath you take. We often pray as if we are reaching for something far beyond us, something external that we must call upon. But when you truly trust your prayer, you realize that the life you are calling to is already here, already coursing through every cell of your being. The prayer itself, the longing, the yearning, it is an echo of something deep within you, not apart from you. You are not asking for something foreign. You are reconnecting to the very essence of what you are. The divine within you, the cosmic intelligence that breathes through every atom, is the same intelligence that listens to your prayer. It is the same force that guides the stars and the seasons, that organizes the dance of the galaxies, and that brings forth the bloom of a flower. When you trust your prayer, you understand that there is no separation between you and the divine. You are not a beggar asking for grace from a distant source. You are a conduit, a channel through which grace flows freely. Prayer in this light is not a request for something outside. It is an invitation for the divine to express itself through you, for you to become a vessel through which this life force flows. This understanding removes the need for constant asking, because when you know that the divine is already within, you understand that your role is not to beg but to become. To become the prayer itself. You are the prayer in motion, in action, in every thought, every word, every step. Your whole life becomes a celebration of the divine, a song, a dance, an offering. When you truly trust your prayer, you recognize that you do not need to search endlessly for the divine. You need only to turn inward to feel the throb of life within you. And in that very moment, you are in communion with the divine. There is nothing to search for, because you are already a part of it, as much as the ocean is part of the wave, as much as the tree is part of the soil. In this realization, prayer becomes effortless. You don't need to ask or plead. You simply allow the divine to move through you, to live through you. You stop seeing yourself as separate, and instead, you live as one with all that is. Your every action, every breath becomes a prayer of gratitude for the life that pulses through you. And in that gratitude, you find true peace, Dot. And so we come to realize that prayer is not just a momentary act. It is a way of being. It is not about asking for more. It is about becoming more aware, more aligned, more alive to the very life that pulses within and around us. Trust in your prayer means trust in the deeper intelligence of existence itself. Trust in the flow of life that is always guiding you, even when you cannot see the way. As you move forward, let every breath you take, every word you speak, every step you make be an expression of that trust. Let your life become the prayer, for in that you will find the greatest peace of peace that is not contingent upon what happens, but rooted in who you have become. Remember, you are not separate from the divine. You are an embodiment of it. The prayer is not a plea to something distant, but a call to the divinity already within you. And when you truly trust, you will see that the divine is already here, and it has always been. Thank you.